Brian Wong, I don't know what the heck happened. Tesla's down 4% today.
Right.
I was not expecting that. I don't think anybody was expecting that. The market was only down
I
about
was
one.
expecting.
You were expecting it.
I was expecting it, yes.
Well, then you must know the reason why. If you were,
Yeah.
well, tell us all about it, Brian.
So basically, we have a technical formation at about between 350 and 360. Actually, some weighting might say there's a 372 level as well. But basically, we were having trouble pushing through 350, 354. So that's kind of the top end, right? So we were making higher lows, coming up from 300, went up, came back down to 320, went up, and now we rejected off, and now we're down to 333, 332. We haven't looked at the exact number. It was at least 332. And then but it could easily go to 330, 329. And then it could even shove down to 320 and still be in the bullish structure of that, right? So I was anticipating that it was losing gas, not pushing through to above 360. And so then it would come back down to this lower level. So basically got this wedge happening. So I was anticipating that wedge was a structure. And then
I see.
the excuse with the overall market um, had had a PCE number, inflation number that came in at the number, but they suddenly realized, oh, we predicted 2.9% inflation, and it came in at 2.9% inflation. 2.9 is very close to 3, and then let's have a freak out and sell, right? So basically that's
Or maybe just an excuse
an
after
excuse.
70 all-time highs on the S&P so far this year.
Right,
Maybe they needed an excuse. I'm not sure.
right,
Especially going into a 3-day weekend.
right.
And if you're in the Trump era, which has occasional disruptions, occasional chaos,
Mhm.
you may want to be a little more careful going into a 3-day weekend than you would under some presidents.
Right. So basically, trading wise, coming in at 332, 330 is about where you'd pull back to
Okay.
when especially in this rising structure. So like I
Mhm.
said, the bottom is coming up, right?
Okay.
And it can go, like I said, it can go as low as 320 and still be fine, right?
Okay.
Although going below 330 for some people would be kind of breaking structure. But the technical guys, if you break through but then come back right away, it doesn't really count. So, but you can see it can go see 30 holding, and then for 2 hours it drops down to like 325, whatever,
I got it.
and then it pops back in, and you can even go for a day down below there, and it still be in the structure.
In the structure. So if I look on the fundamental sides, it seemed like it was a pretty good week. We had the Model YL,
Mhm.
we had the new Model Y Performance,
Mhm.
and the new Model Y Performance was surprisingly performative
Mhm.
in that
Yep.
it takes 2 seconds off the 0 to 60 and added mileage to
Yep.
the potential, the amount of miles it can get per tank load. A
Mhm.
tank, a tank. That's so old fashioned.
Yeah.
Anyway, I didn't really see any significant negatives out there with regard to Tesla. Did you? I mean, I was,
Right. So that's I'm saying that
yeah, doesn't
we're
need it.
still we're still in the positive thing.
Got it.
The negativity is only just enough to let you keep moving around in an overall still everything's good. We're still bullish. We're just not so thrilled that we're going to shove it over 360.
So do you think that September has this bad reputation, of and we have as somebody as I've said, I think a couple of dozen times, when everybody's bullish, it's probably a good time to take some off.
Mhm.
I mean, there's so much bullishness right now in terms of the overall market. I can't really remember seeing it be so lopsided. I mean,
Mhm.
people are predicting 7,500 S&P in the first quarter. Tom Lee thought if we get to 6,600 by the end of this month, he's going to be wrong. It's not going to happen in the next half hour. We're at 12:30 on Friday as we're recording this.
Mhm.
But a lot of bullishness out there. What do you think? Do you think we need a 10% haircut and by the way, what do you call it? The Bitcoin really got bit today and continued down. Where we go? Here we go. 3,400 are 3%
Mhm.
to 1,086.
Mhm.
So both of those may be giving us a hint. The Tesla being down, Nvidia being down 3.5%, crypto being down, or Bitcoin being down 3.5%. Do you think this is a precursor to potentially a pullback of 5?
Yeah, yeah, I think five can definitely be in the works. So coming out of Labor Day week, uh, Labor Day weekend with weakness is something that I can see happening. But it can also turn back the other way. So where basically there's some unexpected good news that happens, and then that
Right.
could um, have things roaring again. So we're on the kind of pivot point thing where um, however the major news blows, will move the market up or down 5%.
Okay. So the major news for next week is going to be the employment numbers. Are we in a good news is bad news mode right now? Our good news is good news because then on the 17th, the Fed's going to make its decision, and the information they will get between now and then is the labor number next Friday, and the CPI will also come out between now and then. So if we get a good print, if employment is still at 4.2, does the market die because they're afraid maybe we're not going to get the cuts after all, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think that good news is bad news on that, and
Okay.
then
Okay.
bad news is good news up
It's
to a
good
point.
news
Up to a point.
up to a point. Okay.
If bad news is really bad, then bad news becomes bad news again, right? If it's like totally freak out, where the economy is totally falling apart, then we're in the Jerome Powell's going to cut, but because things have broken, right?
Right.
So if things are kind of breaking and he's forced to cut, then that's okay. If it's like so obvious that things have gone to total whatever, then that's bad news becomes bad news again.
So I reported this morning, a Friday morning on my show, that the mid-sized retailers, the big box stores, all reported last week. Every single one of them said tariffs, no big deal. Every one of them said consumer doing fine. Target and Lowe's and Home Depot, who reported the previous about like 2 weeks before that, also said the same thing. No, the tariffs, we're negotiating with our suppliers. We're finding other suppliers. We're figuring out how we can, cut our margins just a little bit. But no, it's a little bit here and a little bit there. But no, the tariffs are not going to be a big deal. How big a deal is that? Because I didn't see the market responding to that at all.
Right. So basically, we've ingested these 400 to 500 billion dollars a year worth of tariffs, and it's mostly been eaten by the producer supply chain, not being passed on to the consumer. But it's gonna probably bleed into consumer as they companies want to get that back, but they're going to do it slowly, if at all, because they have to compete against other products and that kind of thing. So, so that's I think a relatively good thing that we've reached a stabilized point where we have the a slightly more sales tax. It's like a targeted form of a value-added tax or government services tax kind of thing, and that's been added in. And just like other countries have added those things in or increased the rates, it didn't really impact things. Also, like people think locally. Sometimes a city or state or whatever could bump the local sales tax up by 1% or 2. You don't expect things to like break because of that.
Right.
And now this is just a slightly bigger version of that. So,
All right. And we saw GDP, second print came out at 3.3 instead of 3.0. And most of the change in that was capital expenditures,
mhm,
which is always the best thing you could ask for
mhm.
and would be reflective maybe of all this new money that Trump has arranged to come into the country. And then this morning, we got a huge number on real earnings. and nobody's talking about real earnings. Nobody is talking about the fact
Mhm.
that the very thing that Trump is in business to do, the reason he wanted to run for president, and his number one thing was to get the folks to have higher income and well, it's been on again, off again each month. So it wasn't every month that we've got this increase, but this month, a nice, like a 1.6% or something, month over month on real earnings.
And the other capital expenditure would be all the AI data center builds company that's spending 100 billion, $200 billion on that. So that plus the other countries and companies investing, based on the agreements that they've made, looks like a strong GDP boost for the next 2, 3 years. So it looks like, the economic plan is broadly working.
So, Brian, this is the first time in 2.5 years of doing my show that I have to do this. I didn't write down anything about the stuff you wanted to talk about. And
Um,
so I'm going to turn over the hosting to you now. And
okay.
I hope you remember what it was you wanted to talk about.
Okay. So we're talking about the master plan part two. Elon said that that would be done next year. So for people who don't remember what master plan part two was, master plan part two came out, I think, 2015, 2016. So we're 9 years into it for the 10-year plan. There's four major pieces to it. One was make more car models. So you have the Cybertruck. Now we have the Model Y XL, which is kind of like a three-row small SUV. And then you know we could have another model, Roadster or other thing next year, but enough to say that that's done. Another one was that they would have the solar roof and Powerwalls. Powerwall's been a huge success, and the solar roof not so much. But they could say they've done it, by having a few. Especially they could roll out new homes with solar roofs where they have a standard roof design. Say, okay, I'm gonna make 100 houses the same until we have this solar roof thing.
I
Uh,
do believe I do believe there is one subdivision in Texas that
right.
has done that. Yes.
Right. So they can do that a bit more, and then they can say, okay, here's the plan. It's going to happen. We're doing that to go forward. Those are two pieces. But the next two are the major ones where it's like one, have FSD solved, self-driving solved with robotaxi. So once they remove the safety monitor, which we expect next year, and then get it to thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of vehicles, that would be solved there. And then letting people make money off their own cars for ride sharing, self-driving, that is also expected. So those last two are the ones that, in order to fully have Mass Transit Part 2, those need to be knocked off, which would be a strong commitment that Elon's making to having that happen. And then he also discussed a master plan part four imminent that would be more targeted than the plan three. Plan three was we're going to electrify the whole world, the United States, and all those kind of things, which was um, not specific as to what Tesla would do specifically. There was some stuff there. We're going to electrify semi. We're going to have a lot of megapacks, but it was not as clear as we have to do this to achieve this major world-changing aspect of it. So, and then
And number four is supposed to be more clear, more succinct. He
then the
didn't give
version three, the master plan three, more like a master plan two
right.
version of it.
And he
Yeah.
didn't give us a date by which he was going to bring out Master Plan 4. But
Mhm.
what do you think Master Plan 4 is going to do?
Well, one thing is that master plan part two was came out at roughly the same time, a bit before his 2018 pay package. But
Oh,
making make executing on Master Plan Part Two was instrumental. Like the
yes.
main progress
Yeah.
on that occurred, and really some of it was finishing up Master Plan Part One. So there is correlation between the company performance with a specific plan that gets translated into the pay package. So if we get a new pay package in November, December, and we get a master plan part four, they will be kind of connected because you'll be executing usually the first 3 to 5 years of the master plan is where the rubber hits the road on those things. And then it would
Sure.
also align with the first 2 or 3 years of the pay package.
Right.
Those
Right.
things together, where it's like specific to the company, specific to something he's going to do, and then correlating that to the pay package would be where you would get the multiple of shareholder value that everyone wants to see.
Okay. So, what do you think is going to be in Master Plan 4?
Master Plan 4, I think will be, I think my robot trucking aspect of it, because I don't
Oh, yeah.
think they mentioned that specifically on there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Master Plan Part 3 talks about electrification of semi-truck,
Yeah.
but they have not talked about the full autonomy aspect of that. It's just like they put in the line about, and we'll make more car models. So
Uh-huh.
having robotaxi for passenger vehicles, but saying, and we'll take autonomy to these other things. So
Hmm.
autonomy for trucks, maybe autonomy for drones. It's something that
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, he's actually mentioned again. He mentioned recently, I would say within the last 3 months, he mentioned that there would be other autonomous products that they would be making. And
right,
the implication was it was related to warehouse distribution.
right.
So drones could fit into that category. What are these little drones like Amazon uses to move packages around? Maybe something a little more sophisticated than those, but not a full-on humanoid. Yeah,
So if you have your autonomous semi truck
yeah,
or robovan that they
right,
talked about, the
right.
bus,
Mhm.
um, then if you have autonomous drones that fly off of that, where that's the
Yeah,
carrier, and
yeah.
then you also do other things. So you have the humanoid bots and then the other things deploying off of it for other things, then
Mhm.
it becomes a zone of stuff. And also you can add it for communications, where you can have different things deployed over a certain area that will let you have communications over citywide areas, so or larger areas.
And something, fairly, again, not very sexy, but there's a bajillion forklifts out there,
Mhm.
and similar, different sizes, different styles of forklifts and other things to carry things around the warehouse that are bigger than those little devices you see in the in yeah, in Amazon.
Right,
And so those could be autonomous, and that would save tons of money. And it would seem like those would be relatively simple to make autonomous.
right. And then the other thing would be that where they do that for energy. So if you could save on the human labor and of solar cell deployment, of deploying fields of solar cells, that could
Uh-huh.
reduce the cost by 2/3. So it'd be 1/3 the
Two-thirds.
cost, 3 times cheaper to do that. So if you sent out a fleet of 100 trucks autonomously, and then they had um, humanoid bots or some other automated machinery to deploy a square mile of solar power,
Hmm.
that would be huge for um, rapid deployment of mega charging as well as for AI data centers because they need to get a square mile of solar for Memphis 2. So if they have multiple data centers they need, as well as need to deploy 100 to 1,000 mega charging sites, then they'll need to have these multi-square mile solar power installations. So I think that would be uh, something that they need to do, and it could be part of a master plan. And it's something where they could announce it because no one else will have robo trucks, and no one else will have the degree of autonomy that they could achieve by vertically integrating this
Sure,
thing.
sure.
And then they would
Yeah.
also be able to have integrated mega packs that are upgraded to have this all deploy quickly. So they could say, and we're going to do it, just like a few months before they're ready to actually start making it happen.
All right. I know that you're up against a hard break. Is there anything else on your list that you wanted to make sure got talked about today?
Um, I think that Q3 and Q4 will be very good. I think the October 2nd volume number, I'm pretty confident it's gonna be over 500,000 distribution delivered and produced. And
Mhm.
then with the strong YL that we 130,000 back orders, a lot of which 100,000 could be delivered in Q4.
Mhm.
And that makes it quite good that we'll have at least 2 quarters over 500,000, and then even if things go right, 600,000 possible for Q4. So a strong finish to the year, I think, is looking solid in terms of like the regular production. And
Sure, sure,
then
sure.
then the 15 gigawatt average for energy for each quarter averaged out, I think is also possible.
Yeah,
So
which would be really strong, and finally, people might finally realize that it's real.
right.
All right, Brian, as always, thanks for coming on and helping us out. And
Thank you.
to all of you out there, as always, have a great weekend. But we'll be here over and over and over again. Brian will be on again. Phil Beisel will be on. Sir Basher will be on twice over the course of the weekend. So you got to come back and come back. I know you're on vacation and maybe your spouse doesn't want you to go off and watch my show, but sneak out and do it anyway. I won't tell. It's
Okay.
been great talking to you.